Hi guys, today we are going to make coin collecting game in Scratch. First I'll take flying cat. Now I'll go to event and take when green flag clicked block and go to controls and take forever block. And I'll take if then block. And I'll go to sensing and take key space pressed block. And I'll change it up arrow. And I'll go to costume. You can see there are two costumes. And I'll go to looks and take switch costume to cat flying bee. And I'll take if then block. Now I'll go to sensing and take key space pressed and I'll change it to down arrow and I'll go to motion and take change Y by and put it up and I'll change 10 into 5 and I'll go to looks and take switch costume and I'll change it to A. And I'll go to motion and take change Y by and change it to -5. Again I'll go to control and take if then block and now I'm going to sensing and take keys pressed block and I'll change it right arrow. Now I'll go to looks and take switch costume and I'll change it A. Now I'll go to motion and take change X by block and change it to 5. Now I'll go to control and take if then block and I'll go to look and take switch costume to cat flying A and I'll go to sensing and take key pressed block and I'll change it to left arrow and I'll go to motion and take change X by I will change 10 into -5. Now you can see it's doing well. Now I'll go to backdrop and take blue sky. Now I'll go to sprite and take a building sprite. Now I'll take a good looking costume. Now I'll go to events and take when green flag clicked block. Now I'll go to control and take forever block. Now I'll go to motion and take set x2 and change it to 250. Oh, again I'll go to control and take repeat block and I'll change 10 into 50. Go to motion and take change X by and I'll change 10 into -10. As you can see, it's doing good. Now I'll take a cloud sprite. I'll choose this sprite. Now I'll go to event and take green flag click block, and I'll go to motion and go to X Y block, and I'll change 68 into 146, and I'll change Y into 168. Again I'll go to control and take 4-hour block, and I'll go to motion and change X by block and change 10 into -5. Now I'll go to control and take if then block. Now I'll go to operator. Now I'll change 50 into -240, and I'll go to motion and take X position. Now I'll go to X block, and I'll change X into 240 and Y into 157. Now we need a coin. I'll go to images. Now I'll click clip art and take the first coin, and I save it. And I'll upload the coin. I'll change the size. And I'll go to event and take green flag click block, and I'll go to looks and take hide block. And then I'll go to control and wait 1 second, and I'll change 1 into 2. Again I'll take 4-hour block, and then I'll go to motion and change X by block, and I'll change 10 into -5. Then I'll go to control and take if then block, and I'll go to operator. I'll change 50 into 240, and then I'll take X position. Again I'll go to event and take green flag click block, and then I'll go to variable and make a variable called score. And I'll set my variable block, and I'll change my variable into score. And then I'll go to control and take 4-hour block. Now I'll take if then block, and I'll put it inside the 4-hour block. And I'll go to sensing and take touching mouse pointer, and I'll change into cat flying. I'll go to motion and go to X block. Now I'll go to variable and change my variable, and I put 5. I'll go to sound and and then I'll take coin sound. Now I'll go to event and take green flag clicked block. I'll go to control and take forever block, and I'll go to sound and take place sound until done block. I'll go to sound and take silo sound. And I'll change coin into silo 1. As you can see, the game is done. I'll put the name, collect the coin, and I will share it. I will put instruction, use arrow key to play this game. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like and share this video.